not have noticed, but some of your favorite K-dramas have some serious mistakes in their episodes. For starters, one of the biggest blunders happened when Big Issue was aired and had everything to do with the unfinished CGI. When episode 11 and 12 were broadcast back in 2019, it was hard not to notice that the crew messed up the final computer graphics work. When viewers were watching the episodes, they got to see a few black screens that still included the editor's notes. For instance, one of the shots said, "Darken the windows a little bit," and another said, "Please add the camera shooting effect during the still." Even worse was that there was a scene in which a character is supposed to be swimming in a lake, but it shows the unfinished product of him swimming in a pool because that's how they filmed it. This mistake was so huge that, of course, the crew had to apologize for it. The production team released a statement in which they said, "We deeply apologize to viewers about this. We also bow our heads in apology to actors and staff members who gave their best and worked hard." Unfortunately, this apology couldn't fix the fact that an enormous amount of people saw their terrible blunder. Then another huge broadcasting failure happened during the airing of a Korean Odyssey. During the second episode of the show, there's an intense fight going on. However, they messed up this stunt because the wires that were connected to the stunt actors were showing in the episode. The production team tried to do damage control and fix the issues by adding a 10-minute commercial break after the broadcast. They showed ads and previews for other shows during the break. Then they broadcasted an apology for the errors during the episode. The show then finally came back on, only for it to go off air again for another 15 minutes. They once again held a commercial break to fix issues, but when it was back on air, there were still several problems with the broadcast. The wires of stunt actors were still showing, and they even managed to show viewers a green screen instead of the edited product. TVN eventually apologized for all these mistakes, but at that point, the damage had already been done. Moon embracing the sun proved that having a lot of props for your scenes is a recipe for disaster because you will forget a few. Back in 2012, a Spot the Differences picture was posted on an online community showing that the same room in Moon Embracing the Sun was set up very differently in two different scenes. The pottery, floor screens, mirrors, and other props seen in the first image change in the following scene, which are obviously taken in the same space. Netizens guessed that it was probably shot on different days, but the difference is huge. This drama honestly had quite a few mistakes, including a random passerby being filmed in one of the scenes. The funniest part about this is that she's dressed in modern day clothes, which makes it so obvious that she's not a part of the cast. If you look closely, you can see her in the background trying to hide behind a tree so as to not disrupt filming. Production crews also have the tendency to film their scenes at the same few spots, and while it's hard to move around all the time, at some point it becomes a little too obvious. Especially in chase scenes, characters often run or drive in the same areas. In Are You Human, there's a particular chasing scene in episode 19 where Namshin chases Seo Dong-gil's agent down the street. If you pay close attention, you can notice that Namshin goes back and forth on the same street because the NEAT tower appears twice in the same scene. Although it's a minor mistake, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. In episode 15 of Tunnel, Kwang Ho and Son Jae chase Jinu down the street. One of the first shots of them outside is taken in front of House 2012. Some very observant viewers who know a little bit more about the neighborhood notice that when the two dash out of the street, they end up in Pyeonghwa-do, which is actually completely on the other side of where they're supposed to be in real life. The next hilarious blunder was in Six Flying Dragons, and it got a lot of attention from netizens. During one of the episodes, farmers come together to hammer posts into a field. While hammering, one of the actors hits another actor on the head instead of hitting the post. You can probably already guess that this wasn't exactly what was supposed to happen, but the editing team forgot to cut the scene out. It's not very clear what happened, but it seems like the one hitting the other used too much force. It was most likely overlooked by the production team because there are no main actors involved. It's unclear whether the actor got seriously injured, but netizens still thought that it was a little bit funny. The next mistake is a minor one, but it's still pretty silly. In the episode of Search WWW, Matthew is sitting at a desk with a name tag in front of him, but on the tag, his name is spelled incorrectly. It's kind of funny how the production team didn't notice this because his name looks so wrong. For those who absolutely loved Mine on Netflix, did you know that there's a mistake in the very first episode? That's right, to show how wealthy the family is, they have a beautiful dinner outside. Everything is already set up, and each family member has a special seat in their own server. What's really funny is that even though they're supposed to be eating, once they're served the appetizer, none of the food is actually touched. As the episode progresses, more wine is poured and they pretend to dine, but no one is actually eating the whole time. It was all probably just props, but it made no sense. Other common mistakes include production teams forgetting to remove random objects in the background. The most famous famous example of this is the 2012 drama Arang and the Magistrate. During one of the scenes, you can see a ladder in the background, and since there is zero use for the ladder in the context of the drama, it seems like someone just forgot it there. The next mistake can only be caught by those with the sharpest of eyes. It's not common for crew members or props to be seen in the final version of a show, but sometimes it happens. People try their best to catch glimpses of the behind-the-scenes process in mirrors and windows, often without luck. However, one fan managed to catch a glimpse of a crew member in an episode of The Bride of Habeck. He's seen in the far back of another building, so they were probably shooting two scenes at the same time. Fans suspect that it's the microphone guy, but you can't see for certain. Regardless of who it is, this is a pretty bad mistake. In one of the episodes of Her Private Life, a viewer caught a very silly mistake that is honestly more laughable than it is shameful. During one of the shots, we see Ryan's back while he is wearing a blue coat. However, for a split second, it seems like the back of his coat is very dirty. It looks like it's covered in paint or something else. In the shot right after, his coat is back to normal. Initially, the viewer thought that the mistake was that his coat really was dirty for a second. But after doing a double take, the white stuff on Ryan's coat is not paint, but literally the reflection of what most likely is the cameraman. There are also some inconsistencies when it comes to blurring of logos of brands that are not part of the show's advertisements. For example, in The Heirs, when Park Shin-hye and Lee Min-ho are sitting on a bench together, the production crew forgot to blur the logo on Min-ho's jacket. You can clearly see the patch at the bottom of your screen for a split second, but then it suddenly disappears. In future scenes he has with the jacket, the crew put a patch over the logo so that it's not visible at all anymore. Even though this mistake goes unnoticed, shows usually don't want to give away free promotion to brands. Another very famous mistake is in an episode of Descendants of the Sun. In the scene, Song Hye-kyo is receiving CPR from Song Joong-ki, but it's so obvious that his hands are way too far up her chest. From farther away, it seriously looks like he's pushing down on her neck. Basically, he's giving her wrong CPR, and what he's doing wouldn't be saving her life anytime soon. Song Joong-ki was involved in one more harmless mistake, because in an episode of The Innocent Man, he's seen having a phone call, but if you pay close attention, you can see that his phone is literally upside down. It happens to the best of us in real life as well, but it's funny to see that actors don't realize that they're holding the phone wrong while filming. The next error is in an episode of Bridal Mask, and this one is also terribly embarrassing for anyone involved. During a difficult fight scene, the production team decided to use a stunt double so that it would look as smooth as possible. Unfortunately, they failed to edit the stunt double's face out of the scene, so as she fights, Tae-hong-jo's face morphs into someone else's. Last but not least, there is the challenge that computers pose in series. Whenever there's a computer in a scene, production team members have to pay close attention to what's being displayed on the screen. That went terribly wrong in Phantom because in episode 17, Sol-ji Sub's character is going through some files that were created in 2011. But if you look on his computer screen, you can see that the folders were created on July 24th, 2012, which is funnily enough the day before that episode aired. Which mistake was the worst? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye!